If the first game breaks, we'll get you loaded up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, 2 games after this win. First year game, we're here for the first May. Can everybody give them 6 minutes?
Rocky Top, you'll always be. The culture that hype and everyone has created in this building, it's been phenomenal on teams, and we're only going to continue to be better. And the standard around here, I've said it before, I'll say it again, standard is to be the damn best. And we're never stopping.
We've got to raise the bar, and we've got to continue to raise the bar. I don't think any of those young men, when they signed to come to Tennessee, they signed to say they wanted to come and be a part of a 7-6 program. They said they wanted to come and compete for championships, SEC championships, national championships. I know that's what I want. I know that's what Tennessee wants. I know that's what the expectation is. So we've got to continue to reassess everything that we're doing and make sure that we're continuing to move the needle in the right direction.
The songs how like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken passes inundated or that we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. Black and white headlights pierce, patrols, blazing arrows, burning me to the marrow. But fire brings peace as well as it brings fear. You're the only thing I hear, and I want that. The songs how like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken passes inundated or that we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. The dogs howl like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit smashed and broken in the sea. When we wake up each cold morning and the birds sing their warning songs.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Back with another morning stream. Look, we're 2 days out of this thing. We're still talking about Austin Peay. We're still griping and complaining, and I get it. We're full of piss and vinegar. We're going to get it out. We're going to continue to talk a little bit about it, but it is Gator Hater Week, man. It's time to move on to the Florida Gators. We got a big one. We got a big game coming up on Saturday. Tennessee has got to find a way to bounce back. How do they answer? We got Cain in the house. Going to jump on and talk with him a little bit about Austin Peay and then a little bit about Florida as well. BBD going to be joining us on the back half of the show. And who knows, man? You never know where you're going to go when BBD joins the show. You have all these plans. They just get thrown out the window. But let's run down the chat. See who's hanging out early on this Monday morning. Brad is in the house as GBO, even though this message won't be here when the live starts. Well, you're wrong, Brad. It's still there. David's in the house. Papa J is here. Let's go Big Orange. Let's open up the playbook. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's been the conversation, man, we've been having the last couple of live streams. Bubbles is in the house. James Bowers is here. Rocky Top Tom. Coach J waking up bright and early out there. He is in the house. Who else we got here? Seth is here, says it is Gator Hater Week. Appalachian Adventures is in the house. Carson's here. Joey's here, reminding you guys to smash the thumbs up. Come on in, pull up a chair. I guess pour a cup of coffee, maybe crack open a Rockstar. Let's get into this thing. Rocky Top Time for $5. Thank you for the super chat. Finally got my new card for door fees. Worried about Florida. Basic is a lot different from inept. We were inept at basics 2 weeks ago. Hashtag battered ball syndrome. Thank you, Rocky Top Tom. Appreciate that super chat, brother. Let's get into it. Let's get Cainer on here. Let's talk a little Tennessee football.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cainer, that's not the type of game you like to cover on Saturday. Sometimes misery is good for business, but I would much rather be happy coming out of that game. Got a lot to get into. Matt Falk in the chat says, oh no, Boogie ain't wearing orange again. I stirred up a hornet's nest. For wearing a good golf hoodie, but that's okay. Jamie Roberts for 2. Appreciate the super chat. Good morning, Boog. Gator Hater Week. I am pumped. Cainer, let's just jump right in. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, dive right in. You know, other teams around the country struggle every year in college football. We saw Georgia do it a year ago, and they go on to win back-to-back national championships. Tennessee struggles, and it's the end of the world. The sky is falling, doom and gloom. I was watching SEC football final over the weekend, and the exact quote from them, like all they said about the game, Tennessee started slow, eventually bounced back, got to win, big game against Florida this week. How do you expect Tennessee to bounce back? What do you think they need to do to get ready for a big one on Saturday?
Well, I mean, you're exactly right, man. We are so invested, and our lives revolve around Tennessee football, whether you're like me and you cover the sport and, rely on the sport and the team to make a living, or if you're just a super fan and, eat, drink, bleed, cry, everything Tennessee Volunteers, we're so invested, all of us. And so, every single game, nitpick and say, what went wrong? What happened here? But at the end of the day, you're scoreboard watching, you're sitting in that SEC studio, you're not watching every single play.
Right.
You don't see the ins and the outs. You see, it was 6-6 for a little bit, 3-3 for a little bit. Oh, Tennessee won 30-13, Florida's next week. So I understand it. I've seen a whole lot of overreaction. I myself might have overreacted a tad bit on Saturday night. It is what it is. Not the end of the world. Plenty to clean up. I don't think Joe Milton sucks. I don't think Tennessee's offense sucks. I don't think this is a Jeremy Pruitt offense. I like that Tennessee is in a place now to where you win by 17, you score 30 points, and coming out of that game, it felt like a loss. And I said that when I went, did a little postcast that night, late that night. It's like, guys, I feel like this is a loss, and how far Tennessee's come. So I'm not sunshine pumping. At least I'm not trying to. I mean, that was brutal at times, a lot to clean up. It was gross, but I still think that this is going to be a really good game. And I think Tennessee's a touchdown favorite. It's going to be a fun game. It's Florida week, and I'm super excited for it.
A lot of talk about game plan, vanilla game plan. Vanilla, that's the word that everybody's been throwing around. And obviously that's the case. Tennessee's not going to show, their hand in these first 2 games where they're huge favorites going into those games. They took some shots across the middle early. Joe struggled with accuracy. Wide receivers weren't helping him out any. A lot of drop passes. So you can blame anybody, everybody. Everybody's responsible for that. Then they changed the game plan. They started going to the quick stuff on the outside. They started running straight up the middle, and they kind of stuck with that. So when we talk about vanilla game plan, I still think they changed what they wanted to do because of the accuracy struggles. What are your thoughts on that game plan? And just Tennessee, I don't know if I can articulate this the way I want to. Clearly the game plan was vanilla, but it also changed against an inferior Austin Peay team on Saturday.
I mean, I agree with that to an extent. I don't let me choose my words wisely. I don't think Austin Peay dictated the way Tennessee called plays. And again, I'm not taking anything away. They had a great game plan. Tennessee struggled. Joe was inaccurate. Receivers were awful. So it contributed, don't get me wrong, but I just think it was there. It was so there, and they were inviting Tennessee to do that. I mean, the first 2 games, it's been a light box. DB's been playing back. They pretty much just said, hey, Joe, you're not going to throw it over our heads. We're going to do everything we can not to give up the deep ball. And Tennessee has only taken, 1 shot 30 yards down the field so far this season in 2 games. Again, it's been both Virginia and Austin Peay. It's why the run game's been there. And in the second half, sure, it goes along with Joe being inaccurate and the receivers not having a good day. And they went to the quick stuff, the screens, the flags, attacking the perimeter. So I do think it goes hand in hand a little bit. I won't say that Austin Peay completely dictated the way Tennessee called that game, but of course they were playing well. Tennessee was not, and it was there. So I do think that Florida's going to be a little bit different. Tennessee's running the football so well. I don't think Florida's going to try to allow for over 200 yards on the ground. And if they put another guy in the box, if they move those DBs up a little bit, then you can say, all right, Joe Milton, let's see what you got. And I think in order to win that football game on the road and many other games in the SEC, you're going to have to go back to hitting some of those deep balls and getting some chunk plays. So, again, this is a big game for a lot of reasons. Joe Milton was not good the other night. The receivers were pitiful. It just is what it is. Again, doesn't mean that unit is going to be horrible, but they got to find some sync, and hopefully they can find it this weekend.
Couple of super chats here. Papa J for 5. Appreciate that, brother. Let's see what we have when we open up the playbook this week. GBO. I guess it's battered Vol syndrome. I just keep going back. Oh, this sounds like something we would have said during the Jeremy Pruitt years. Oh, it's because the playbook. I don't care about the playbook. You should have been able to go out there and score 70 points on Austin Peay. So I'm going to be concerned. I'm concerned because I've lived through 20 years of misery as a Tennessee fan.
I said it all last week. Like a game like this shouldn't matter what they do. Tennessee's bigger, faster, stronger.
Yes.
Tennessee should run by them. Tennessee, I mean, in reality, it shouldn't. So again, a little bit of both. But yeah, it was disappointing a little bit.
It's your fault. It's your fault, Eric, for saying that Tennessee should have gone out a glorified scrimmage. Everybody's been saying those same two.
Somebody
words.
commented on my thing like, "Oh, you know it alls. You don't know it all." And great bulletin board material. And I'm like, listen, if anybody at Tennessee, yeah, we all do. If anybody at Tennessee's watching my videos, if anybody at the opposing programs are watching my videos,
yeah,
then they suck to begin with. That's just going to be completely. Now the fans are one thing, but I mean that's not where you get bulletin board material. Trust me.
Yeah, we got huge issues if Joe Milton's sitting down to watch Locked On Vols, then tuning into Talkin VAWLS on Monday morning.
Don't get me wrong, Joe. If you're watching, come on aboard. Love to have you on the show. But yeah, I don't think that's a long shot.
Yeah, the real Hank for 5. Thank you for the super chat. All I know is Florida will have to run on us to win, and I don't see that happening. Not on this D line. Mertz will have to beat us passing. I don't think he can. I agree with that, Hank. I still like the matchup against Florida. Rolling season for 5. Hopefully, Joe just had jitters. It was his second start at Neyland Stadium, first since the first game of 2021. Let's hope. There's a whole lot of let's hope going on. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Again, Joe wasn't accurate. The wide receivers, they didn't exactly bail him out or help him. Post-game show, Joe Milton says these are the best wide receivers in the country. Tons of preseason hype. You know, I hyped up Dante Thornton probably more than anybody. The second his name went in the portal and Tennessee had some buzz, I'm like, this guy is going to dominate here. We're talking one and done, right? He's going to come in, dominate, and head off to the NFL. Somebody asked me, Boogie, you still think he's one and done? I said, well, maybe if he transfers because he got benched and didn't play the entire second half. Everybody on this roster had a drop on Saturday. But if you go look at the stats, you know, 8 catches from Ramel Keaton on the year, 10 from Squirrel White, 7 from Brew McCoy, but they've still not been very good. You're in the press box. You've got a different view than what we see on TV. And I know you come home and you do the rewatch on TV, so you see both sides of it. What is going on downfield? You mentioned Austin Peay kind of sitting back. So is that what's playing into this? Is that why we're not seeing deep shots now because they're just sitting so far back that Tennessee – I was concerned that they weren't getting separation. But if they're just sitting back and keeping everything in front of you, what's going on downfield that we can't see on TV?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia and Austin Peay both were trying to keep everything in front of them. And again, I think that's a pretty solid game plan going in. First and foremost, sidebar, I know a lot of people are, making fun of the Austin Peay coach and everything, and he's wild, he's crazy.
Oh.
They had a great game plan. Give them credit. They had a great game plan. Love the fact that if it's fourth and manageable, wherever you are on the field, you're going for it. I love trying to outflank Tennessee, trying to confuse Tennessee. They had a really good game plan, so props there. But yeah, I think the defensive back's been playing a little bit further back, trying to keep everything in front of them. I do think it's been a light box. That's why Tennessee has had so much success running the football so far. But again, like all that has nothing to do with the inaccurate throws. Some of those balls, in my opinion, and again, I'm not a coach, I'm not a quarterback, I'm not a receiver. I am Eric Cain, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But in my opinion, some of those, it's like, okay, you're a receiver, you're a Division I Power 5 receiver. Let's help out my struggling quarterback. Let's get that football, okay? Let's make a play. Like McAllen Castles, that was probably the worst throw Joe had all day. It was routes on air. Nobody was around. And it was thrown behind him. But, I mean, can you stop, come back around, try to get that, help your quarterback out. Dante Thornton, the same thing. Brew McCoy on drive number 1, you could have maybe had that catch, but it was a bad throw. So, like, even the defensive backs playing back a little bit in a lighter box has nothing to do with those inaccurate throws, even though I think the receiver should have tried to make some plays. Now, Dante Thornton dropped one on the sideline after Joe Milton's probably his best play of the game, evaded pressure, spun out, rolled out. Squirrel White, second drive of the game, dropped one at the sticks on third down. Like, what are you doing? Jabari Small, dude, dropped a screen pass, and you had 60 yards and paid her right in front of you. You had a lead blocker and 2 escorts. So, again, it was not just Joe. It was the whole passing game. And despite any strategies for that defense the past 2 weeks, it doesn't take away that the balls were still inaccurate and there were still some drops. And so that's a little bit concerning. But, again, I like this group. I'll stand by this. I like this receiver group. I like the quarterback, and I'm intrigued to see how it responds moving forward.
I guess that's the thing. You have all the hype and excitement. You go into a Virginia game expecting to see some big-time plays. Austin Peay, the same thing. What do you think the game plan is going to be going into Florida? Do you think we're going to see more of this offense? I think Tennessee should go in and run it down their throats. And I know that this team wants to run the football. They established the run. They've been extremely successful through 2 games. But what's your game plan if you're going to go down to the swamp and get a win?
Yeah, I'm going to run the football as much as I can. Jalen Wright's your best weapon right now, and I respect the fact that I think so far in the season, both Jabari Small and Jalen Wright have 26 carries. I mean, that's great. Jabari Small's played well through 2 games. Jalen Wright's on another level right now, so feed him as much as you can. So I would do that. I would still run your offense. Take shots when they're there, set up that deep shot, work the perimeter. I know that it was all perimeter shots and screens and stuff like that in the second half yesterday or the other day, but Tennessee still uses that a lot. They've utilized that a part of their offense to set up the deep stuff each of the past 2 seasons. So continue to be you be you. And if you're still finding some inaccuracies with the football, if you're still not finding the connection down the field, just try to run the football. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm not changing a thing. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Josh Heupel and this group of guys that they can figure it out, because I think Tennessee's different. It's a different animal than any other offense in the country. So why change what you do? You're a little out of sync in one game. Okay, fix it and go, and I think you're going to be fine in the swamp.
Got a couple of super chats here. Smoky Mountain Serps for 5. Appreciate that, brother. It worries me when they can't execute the vanilla plays, and in the secondary still had issues against a poor FCS team. Yeah, that's another, talking point is the secondary. I thought they were going to be improved. I thought they were against Virginia. They struggled at times. Of course, Kamal hadn't. Go ahead. You were going to make a point.
Yeah, I was going to say, to that point, and I agree, you give up 260 yards through the air, and it's Austin Peay. It's like, what are you doing? You're allowing the quarterback to complete 74% of his passes. Yikes. I don't like those at all. But Austin Peay was completely one-dimensional. Okay, it had 75 yards on the ground a game, and keep in mind, 46 of those came on one play when there was a bust and gap integrity on 4th and 2 from the quarterback. They couldn't run the football whatsoever. So completely one-dimensional, had to go through the air, but I agree. I liked minority here. Don't come at me too hard. I thought Kamal hadn't battled. I do. Now, he has got to fix those pass interference. He's got to look back for the ball. Twice he was flagged. Twice it was an underthrown ball. He could have 3 interceptions on the day. And I knew it. You knew it. Everybody watching knew it. He knew it as well. He didn't, he knew it was pass interference. You got to fix that, because if Florida needs a quick first down, that's what I'm doing every time. I'm throwing deep to Kamal Hadden. I'm underthrowing. But when he got inside leverage, turned and looked for the football, he made a couple plays, had a couple PBUs. He had that interception. He forced that fumble that I don't know how in the world, even after review, that they said was an incomplete pass. I thought he battled a little bit, so he needs to clean some things up. Thought Wesley Walker played pretty well, but overall, to the point there, I don't like giving up 260 yards and allowing the opposing quarterback from Austin Peay to complete over 70% of his passes. It's got to get better.
Yeah, of course, they had the big chunk play through the air, too, where Slaughter fell down.
Just completely fell down. It wasn't a bust. It was man coverage, and he slipped.
Yeah.
Can't happen, but it is what it is, yeah.
But still, what concerned me is, they did a whole lot of the quick stuff, just like Tennessee was doing, a lot of chop blocks. So it's like the entire defensive line is laying on the ground, so it's your secondary and your linebackers in space. And I thought at times they looked bad. They took bad angles. They tackled poorly. That was late in the game. I know there was one point where Arian Carter was in there, and, man, I'm glad he's getting some go, but he looked rough against a very bad Austin Peay team on Saturday. But we'll see. I hate to keep saying we're going to find out Saturday. We're going to find out Saturday. Yep.
It's a huge game for a number of reasons. It's the no pun intended, it's the tempo setter for the team, in my opinion. It's road game, place you hadn't won in forever. It's a rivalry game. I don't think Florida's good this year. But if you play like that on offense down in the swamp, you're going to get your ass beat. I mean, that's point blank. It's just going to happen. So I think Tennessee's the better team. We talked to Andy Staples on the Rocket Top Rewind last night. He said Tennessee's the better team. It has better players. It's got better coaches right now. It should win this football game, despite looking kind of sus on Saturday against Austin Peay. So, but it's a huge game, and if you lose this game, and I don't want to kind of go down that road. But if you lose this game, then what's going to happen against South Carolina, A&M, Alabama, Kentucky? There are so many other games that, in my opinion, should be more challenging. But still knowing that winning in the Swamp obviously is something Tennessee just hasn't done. Huge game for a number of reasons, but obviously I'm intrigued to see what this offense looks like trying to bounce back from a poor performance.
I feel like we've been making excuses, right? Tennessee played Virginia. Tennessee played Austin Peay. Oh, they were down. This happened, that happened. The lightning delay. All the excuses. There's no excuses Saturday. It's real big boy SEC football. No more excuses. We're going to find out what this team has. Realistic 1 for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Before the season started, I had them losing 3 games. I will now change it to 2. This realistic one has to be in the minority here. He's adding a win after the game against Austin Peay. Did you? And this one makes me laugh too. Did you both predict an undefeated season? Have you ever met me and Cainer? I think they could return an all-time all-star Tennessee team. And me and Cainer would still find a way to pick a loss somewhere in there. We both had them at 9-3. Different.
The backup linebackers. I don't know if there's enough depth there. I got it.
Yeah. I mean, Al Wilson. I don't know if he's going to be ready to play in the Swamp on Saturday. We would come up with something. Believe me. Let's talk a little Joe Milton. We talked a little bit about him earlier. Didn't play good, right? He just did not play good on Saturday. Struggled with accuracy. We were kind of talking off air. A big conversation, and I've got an article pulled up. I'm not going to put it on the screen. It's just got social media posts, and I get it. Social media is toxic, especially during a game. Joe Milton can throw a ball 1,000 yards, but dude has very minimal accuracy. It doesn't matter how far you can throw something if you can't hit your target. Here's another tweet. Joe Milton 1 for 8, 11 yards, 8 minutes to go. What the heck? Is Joe Milton going to get benched right after the announcement of his McDonald's deal? Now this is great about social media too. Knew Joe Milton was awful. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Don't drink so much during the game. Joe is 1 for 8, 11 yards, but he can throw it 90 yards. That's cool. Time to sit Joe Milton. He's overthrowing the mountains again. Bench Joe Milton. Tennessee fans thought Joe Milton was magically going to develop touch and accuracy at 23 years old. I'm not kidding. Joe Milton ain't the guy. I can go on and on. Those are all social media posts that came out on Saturday. This is Joe Milton's team. We knew that going in. We know that now. How much pressure, how much noise, and I know, block out the outside noise. How long is the leash, or does Joe Milton even have a leash?
Kevin says sports Twitter is on a whole nother level. You ain't kidding, man.
God.
Message boards during games. I sent to our group chat, VolQuest, all of us hashtag mods, and I took a screen record of a thread that happened during the game. Because, I mean, during the game, you're so busy doing a bunch of stuff, even after the game, and then it's time for bed, and then Sunday. So, like, last night was really a chance for me before I went to bed to go back and look at a lot of the threads during the game, and I'm just like, gosh, drunk, emotional, impulsive. I'm like, golly, I can't say I've missed this, but that's what in-game fandom is, especially on the message board.
I stay off the GQ during the game. I can't.
Come to GQ, hang out with us in the game.
I go through the game thread. And I really just scroll to your post.
Don't pick any fights. People are like, oh, mods are so still losing credibility, saying there's no quarterback competition. All this. I mean, there's not. There wasn't. There's not right now. If Joe goes down and struggles and is awful in the Swamp, then let's have this conversation again. Then we can talk about how short is that leash, or could this happen in the future? But I mean, again, that's not happening right now. Now, does he have to be better? Absolutely. Does he know that? Absolutely. If Tennessee wants to accomplish what they want to accomplish, they got to get better quarterback play compared to what the other day was. And I understand some of those kind of came back. The inaccuracies is what came back on Saturday. But how could you not sit there and watch Joe Milton when he had opportunities in 2022 and even against Virginia and say that, okay, you can't tell me that he hadn't worked on touch. You can't tell me that he hadn't worked on his accuracy in those games, because he was. Now, Saturday was not great in terms of the accuracy, but he has made steps and made improvements since 2021, in my opinion. So anyway, this is a big game. Again, huge game for Tennessee, huge game for the fans, huge game for the programs, huge game for Florida for sure. But this is a big-time game for Joe Milton, and so I am not ready, absolutely not ready to entertain any quarterback controversy or anything. Let's see what happens down in the Swamp, and let's see if Tennessee's offense can bounce back.
I was preaching after the Virginia game because a lot of people questioned Joe after Virginia. I disagreed with that. I thought Joe played really good against Virginia. He had, we all have said the same thing. He had the one really bad series, but overall, Joe played good football.
Decision-making, sorry to cut you off, but decision-making outside of that one series you're referencing so far this entire year, it's been really good. And again, that's an improvement compared to when he was a starting quarterback.
Yeah. I said, I'm getting preachy. We got to judge Joe on the here and now, what he's doing right now. But the Austin Peay game is the here and now. So if he goes down to the swamp and he struggles, the pressure cooker is on, man. And somebody asked me if I thought Joe was being a little too, laid back, a little too kind of almost laughing when he sits down to have media appearances and people ask him these questions. He almost kind of laughs it off, or he'll look at whoever's beside him like, can you believe this guy's asking me this? I talked about it going into the thing. I like that Joe's laid back. He's loose. He likes to have a good time. But I questioned leadership when, adversity hits. Sometimes being goofy and silly doesn't work when adversity hits. So, I'm kind of interested to see what Joe looks like and if he's ready to truly be the leader of this football team. It's easy to lead when you're at practice. It's easy to lead when you're at a scrimmage. It's not always easy to lead when you're on the road in a hostile environment, 7 p.m. kickoff, and something doesn't go your way. Hendon had that. Hendon had that cool, calm composure. You've been around somebody and, man, panic hits in and they just they're relaxed and calm you down. Whereas if somebody's being goofy and silly, I don't know how I respond to that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's been every time that us media were around the team, it's Joe breaking them down. It's Joe doing this, Joe doing that. You see a lot of the videos and stuff, the social media content that Tennessee puts out there, and it's Joe doing this, Joe having a message, and all that type of stuff. But you're exactly right. It's easy to lead when you're at home. It's easy to lead in the offseason. Easy to lead when things are going well. How easy is it to go up to that post-game press conference after a huge loss on the road? Not saying that's going to happen this week, but what's that look like? It's a little bit different. Josh Dobbs, the best leader I've seen here at Tennessee in recent memory. He was so good. And Hendon was a good leader. I'm not taking anything away, but even Hendon, in my opinion, on games where like he didn't play very well, it's just kind of like, yeah, I thought I played well. Move on. Next question, all that type of stuff. Like Josh Dobbs is transparent and all that type of stuff. And I'll never forget. I wasn't covering the team then, but I think it was the Vanderbilt game in 2017 when he went and answered questions from the media when Butch Jones was like held up for like 30 or 40 minutes, whatever the case was. And he just took all the questions from the media. And it was tough because it was a loss at Vanderbilt, which was just horrendous. I believe that's the game I'm referencing. So anyway, he this is his team, still his team. He is the leader. Everybody's looking at him. But you're right. You're going to hit adversity as the season goes on. Not everything's going to go your way. You hit some adversity, obviously, against Austin Peay and even Virginia. You're walking into an environment right now that wants to rip your head off. It's going to be loud. I expect some procedural penalties. It's going to be one of my keys this week. Because remember at Georgia last year, Tennessee didn't handle that all well. So it is a huge, huge week. I keep saying this, but it is a massive week for Tennessee. It's a massive week for Joe Milton to play better, to lead this football team into a territory of unknowns, and see what happens. I'll kind of finish this thought on this. I mean, again, Tennessee is the better football team. Tennessee has better collection of players. I'm picking Tennessee to win this week. What happened against Austin Peay was ugly. It was bad to watch, and it was downright disappointing. It's not going to change my pick for this week. I like Tennessee in the swamp, and I like Tennessee to win for the first time since 2003.
It's funny because we react so emotionally to one game, kind of like I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Vegas doesn't react emotionally. They act intelligently. There is a reason Tennessee is favored, even though they're going on the road. It's a big one, man. I was listening to the Rocky Top Rewind you guys did last night. I was listening to it this morning while I was getting ready. And the guy that you had come on from the Florida on-3 side, like he lays it out. This is a huge game for both teams. For both teams. This is good. It's been circled. The guy asking earlier, what was your all's predictions? I was at 9-3, and I kept talking, beating it into the ground. This game is huge because if Tennessee goes down and loses in the swamp, the trajectory goes down for the rest of the season. They go win, the sky is the limit. I think you're going to roll out of the month of September at 5-0. That's the way I see it. It is Gator Hater Week. We're going to get you out the door with this one. We got almost 300 people watching live, guys. Smash the thumbs up. We would appreciate it. Hit the share button. That's something you guys can do. Hit share, and it'll pop up your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever. Let somebody know we're live. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, go check out what Eric is doing over at Locked On Vols. Make it your first listen of the day, bright and early. It's usually up at like midnight. Some of y'all are nuts. You're in there in the live chat talking at midnight. I'm asleep, sleeping like a baby at midnight. But go check out what he's got going on.
The funniest thing, man, people will come up to me, see me out at Rivalry Thursday games or sometimes at the stadium. They'll be like, hey, man, you put me to sleep every night. And I'm like, as long as I'm getting that average viewing period and my percentages go up and I get those clicks, No, I'm just like, I appreciate. I always think it's so funny. Like, hey, I listen to you at night. You put me to sleep every night. I'm like, well, you're welcome.
That's great. Just let that phone keep playing and turn it on autoplay so it goes to the next one and the next one and drains your battery, but gets that watch time up. That's what it's all about on YouTube. But go check out what's going on at Locked On Balls. Go check out Ball Quest. I mentioned the in-game threads. I like it. You get a lot of information that we can't see. Man, you guys, I don't know how you do it. Like just listing who's actually on the field starting, or if a substitution comes in, and that's like, okay, I can see that versus you don't always see it on TV. So the in-game threads, always great information. Just skip everything that's not Eric because it's emotional. It's like being on Facebook during the game. But one last thing, it is Gator Hater Week. Give us a little teaser for the matchup. You already said you're rolling with Tennessee. What do you like about the matchup on Saturday in the Swamp?
Yeah, it's going to be something we haven't even touched on. Again, it's Monday morning. It's before 10 a.m. I mean, we got a whole week of this. I get it. But Tennessee's offensive line is going to be tested. Tennessee's offensive line didn't have the best day against Austin Peay. But those boys gotta grow up. And, will Tennessee have Cooper Mays? I don't know. We'll see. But I expect Tennessee to run the football. I expect Tennessee to feed Jalen Wright. And I expect Tennessee to be Tennessee and to not change or dictate. Sure, there's going to be a game plan, but to not change anything based on what's going on. And Tennessee will attack the perimeter, but if it's there, Tennessee's going to take some shots. And I do think Tennessee will be a little bit more creative in the game planning moving forward. But more than anything, Joe Milton needs to be more accurate. We don't need to see last week, and those receivers need to help him. Those receivers need to be a whole lot better. So I like this defense, man. I do. It's going to be a huge test. A lot of new faces on the offensive line for Florida. They want to run the football. That is, I mean, you got one weapon, really two weapons. We talked to Nick Delatour from Gators Online, and he said they really, really like that new receiver. I got it written down. Hold on. Eugene Wilson III. They call him Trey. Said everybody likes him a lot, but of course it's Ricky Pearsall. And you've got one weapon, but you got two backs. They're going to want to run the football. How does Tennessee's rush defense stack up? And, if they put the ball in Graham Mertz's hand, I like Tennessee to win this football game because I don't think Graham Mertz is that great of a quarterback. So we'll continue to break this game down from every single angle. We'll talk to a bunch of people at Florida. I like Tennessee, collection of players. I like Tennessee's scheme. But the crowd noise, how you deal with it, things are not going to go your way. How do you respond? All that's going to be huge. And, of course, so much of that falls back on Joe Milton. So I like Tennessee on the road. I think the spread is 7. I'm not ready to pick that just yet, but I like Tennessee to win this game in the Swamp for the first time since 2003.
BBD in the chat says, Cainer. Carlos Quillen says, hello from Greenville. He said,
Rivalry Thursday fan there. I'm sure you get this all the time doing live broadcasts, but you'll go out there and you'll say something, and then you'll go to break or something, and your partner will say, why'd you say that? And you're like, what are you saying? AP was like, Carlos? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, his name's Carson. I was like, I know. And he's like, you said Carlos. I'm like, no, I didn't. Yeah, you did. Check the tape. Appreciate you watching Rivalry Thursday. Sorry we couldn't finish that game the other night. It was a little bit annoying.
That's 2 for Greenville. 2 games that have been ended because of lightning delays. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking recruiting. We were talking offensive line recruiting the other day. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was trying to say Ellerby doing a great job in this cycle. And then Coach Jay made a point, and it was my turn to talk again, and I was like, I'm trying to say Ellerby, and I'm like, Eckler. Just keeps going through my head, and then I was like, did I say Eckler earlier when I was talking about Glenn Ellerby? He's like, 100%. I knew what you were talking about. Live is not always easy, but it's a good time. Go check out what Cainer's got going on at Locked On Vols and Vol Quest. Appreciate you coming on, buddy. I will be back on Locked On Vols Thursday morning, every Thursday, and then every Monday right here on Talkin Vols. Always a good time, buddy. Appreciate you coming on.
Happy Florida Week, guys. It's going to be a fun one. So let's have some fun.
Let's do it. Have a good one, buddy.
See you.
All right, we're going to get BVD on here in just a second. Got to do some plugs and chills. Like I say, man, smash the thumbs up. If you like the videos, you like the content, you like the live streams, I get it. Some of you guys watch it on your TV, and that's cool. But if you're sitting on your cell phone or you're signed into YouTube, hit the thumbs up. It is quick, free, easy, and it plays that stupid analytics game of YouTube. The more thumbs up, the more comments. They want to recommend this video to other Tennessee fans, so I would greatly appreciate it. Also, go check out our merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin Vols. We got some new ones in there, but it's also Gator Hater Week. We got Gator Hater merch, so go check that out. We've also got Buck Fama, FUGA, all those good shirts. You want to get them before we get to those games. But any and all support greatly appreciated. Bonfire.com/store YouTube.com/Talkin VAWLS. That link is also in the description below. And want to make a quick plug for memberships, man. The memberships on this channel, you get a custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, you get a little power T beside your name. It's what pays the bills around here. Cain was talking about earlier how we're blessed, man. We get to talk about Tennessee football every single day as a career. This is what pays the bills, and it's because of you guys in the chat that have that little power T beside your name. That's the only way I knew that I was confident enough to pull the trigger and do this full time. So if you like the content, the streams, all that stuff, think about hitting that join button down below. You can give $1, you can give more. You also get access to the fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun perks and benefits. But let's keep this train rolling. Let's talk a little Tennessee football. It's Gator Hater Week. BBD, what's going on, brother?
Good morning, Boogie. How you doing today?
Good, man. It looks like the sun hasn't even come up down there in Greenville.
I'm in my living room. I hate doing live streams from in here, but it is what it is. That's where I'm stuck. So the sun is definitely up. It's a beautiful morning here. It's Gator Hater Week, and I feel confident about this game, even on the heels of that debacle Saturday night.
So are you confident? Do you have concerns? Like going into the game before Austin Peay, man, I'm making videos laughing at Florida fans, having a good time. Florida sucks. Their offensive line's terrible. We go play Austin Peay, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm confident. I think, maybe, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I am. Like Cainer said, and by the way, I hate the fact that I didn't get the chance to meet Cainer Thursday because I didn't realize he was on the Rivalry Thursday crew. But anyway, maybe I'll catch him another time.
You got the worst of the two with AP.
He's a great dude, man. They're all three great guys. Love what they do. Love what Cainer does. I try to watch as much of it as I can. But anyway, what was the question? Oh yeah, confidence going into this weekend's game. Obviously not as high as it was before Saturday. I don't think anybody's is. Before Saturday, I had us beating them by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Now, I think it's more of a tight game that Tennessee pulls out in the end. I'm still counting on Joe to do his thing. I'm like most other fans. I lost a lot of confidence Saturday, but still, it's been 20 years, man. It's time to go down to the swamp and kick Florida's ass, period.
So with Joe Milton, and we were talking about it earlier with Cainer, how long is the leash? He's going to be the professional. We can be the unprofessional, right? We're the rogue Tennessee coverage on YouTube. How long? What would it take? What would Joe have to do before you go full steam ahead? And I'm ready for Nico. I'm ready for Nico. As a fan, right? That doesn't mean that Josh Heupel thinks that or Josh Heupel has a leash or whatever the case may be. But as a fan, when do you say enough's enough? I'm ready for Nico. I'm ready to see what the number one player in the country can do with this offense.
Well, I mean, first of all, Boogie, you should know this. We're fans. We're always right, no matter what Josh Heupel thinks.
That's right.
So I'm thinking, 2 picks in the swamp, and it's time to start at least looking at Nico for a little relief, at least in that game. Let's go devil's advocate here and say Joe does have the worst game he's ever had in the swamp. We're down 2 touchdowns at half. He's thrown 2 picks. I think you got to trot Nico out there and see what he can do. Why not? You're not going to redshirt him this year. He's not going to be here 4 years. Trot him out there and see what he can do in the biggest pressure cooker he'll be in all year, period. As a fan, that's what I think.
Joe, you mentioned throwing a couple of picks. That's one thing Joe's not done. He's not really put the ball in harm's way. He's protected the football. But Recht makes a good point. The one thing that's missing from this football team is the passing offense. I know there are some issues in the secondary, but that defensive line is really, really good, and they're going to make the secondary better. I know, it hurts to lose Keenan Peely, but I still think Elijah Herring through 2 weeks has played really good football. The one thing missing from this team is the passing offense, and I love Joe Milton. I want nothing more than Joe Milton to go out there and have success, but Recht brings up a point that is accurate. That's what's struggling on this football team right now. Is Nico the answer? Is Nico ready? Are you concerned, BVD, if you trot Nico out there in the swamp? And I know people ask Coach Jay this, and he's like, no, this kid, you're not going to mess him up mentally. What if he goes out there in the swamp and struggles and looks awful? You know, Jarrett Garantano, man, we ruined that poor kid's career in college because the stuff that he went through. So would you really try him out there against Florida? Would you bring him home, let him play against UTSA, let Joe just take the beating in the swamp and get Nico ready for the next week? Again, this is BBD's the coach. You're in charge.
I agree with what you said earlier. I think this game is so huge that you've got to throw caution to the wind, throw the kitchen sink at them. And if that means bringing Nico in to try and come back and win this game, you got to do it. And again, this is BBD being the head coach, which I'm going to talk to Heupel about this later today and get this all cleared up, this whole Nico thing. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm as confident as Coach Jay, but you harken back to Jarrett Garantano. We did that over and over and over with that kid.
Mm-hmm.
He never had a chance at Tennessee. He got his brains beat in. He kept getting up, trotting back out there and trying to do the same crap, play after play, and getting his brains beat in. He had no chance of gaining confidence. I don't think this team lets that happen with Nico. Since, you know, we are in the locker rooms as coaches, we know the vibe of this team, and we know this team would never let that happen to Nico. Again, I've still got confidence in Joe. I think he can get it done at Tennessee. And, God, I can't wait. I cannot wait till Saturday night. Like you and everybody else, I've had this game circled in my brain ever since pretty much last year. You know, so I'm ready.
It almost like Austin Peay. The Austin Peay game, look, full transparency. It's great for business because if Tennessee goes out and blows out Austin Peay, nobody's watching the post-game show. Nobody's watching the day after video. Nobody wants to come on the fan call-in show. And then this week, it would kind of start trending up because everybody's starting to get excited for Florida. I just feel like the air in the room is so much different coming off of a very poor performance against Austin Peay. And I get it. A lot of casual fans are like, what are you talking about? They won. Are you not happy with a win? You know, I put out the day after video and I said things didn't go the way we want. What do you mean? You think we lost the game? No, it's Austin Peay. That is a glorified scrimmage. It was going into it. It is today. Tennessee didn't show up for the scrimmage. That's what happened. So people can get mad and say, you overlooked them. No, I didn't. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I say. BBD's the coach in the locker room. He's the one that's got to keep them dialed in. I just get on here and run my mouth about him. But this game is so huge, man. It's so huge. And you know, we're talking a lot of negativity really about Joe right now. And I'm just saying, I'm playing the what if game. When do you start saying, you know, where's Nico? But the jury's still out on Joe. I thought he looked good against Virginia, struggled against, you know, Austin Peay. Once they opened it up to the quick screens to the outside, the offense really started moving. That's when you saw, you know, they put one in the end zone right before the half. They came right back out, scored after halftime. The game was over. The game was never in doubt. I get that. It just didn't go the way you wanted it. You know, what'd you think of the way Joe played against Virginia compared to Austin Peay?
I mean, he struggled a little bit, you know, against Virginia early, but he got it together and, you know, went out there, did his thing. And I honestly thought that's what was going to happen at the AP game, but it just, I mean, he never could seem, from my perspective, to totally get it together. Then when the coaches, you know, started having him throw those bubble screens and everything to the sidelines, the biggest thing I took away from that game that I thought he had fixed, and maybe he has, maybe this was just one bad game, the dude throws the ball 100 miles an hour no matter what pass it is. And we talked about this in the fan call-in show. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but this narrative never changes. Joe Milton has no touch. He doesn't know how to put air under the ball. And I don't understand why he can't get that fixed. Is it a coaching thing? Is it a Joe Milton thing? Is it a both thing? Is it he don't, you know, in his mind, he thinks his passing's just fine. I don't know how he can go back and watch film and even look at some of those screen passes, him rifling the ball in there. There's a reason he doesn't have any interceptions, because if it ever hit a DB in the hands, he wouldn't be able to catch it. And man, I hope he gets that problem fixed soon.
You know, you look at what the matchup with Florida, and I like it. I like the matchup. I think a lot of things play into Tennessee's favor in this game, particularly on the line of scrimmage. And, you know, again, I was listening to the Rocky Top Rewind from VolQuest last night, and they had the guy. I love hearing what the media from Florida thinks about their team, right? Because we can all get on here and talk about Florida. We all watch football. We all watch the games. I don't think the national media has a clue about this Tennessee football team like we do, because we talk it, we cover it, we deep dive it, we follow the recruiting, we follow everything that goes on, and it's the same thing with Florida media guys over at On3. So I like hearing their opinions. And, you know, obviously they lost that first one to Utah 24-11. They bounced back against McNeese State, and they asked him plainly, you know, did they show you anything in that McNeese State game that is encouraging to you? And he was basically like, no, you're playing McNeese State. Like, it's what we should have done to Austin Peay and didn't, right? What can you really take away from those games? But Florida's back's against the wall, man. Their back is against the wall. They lose that game, they are going to be on the fire Billy Napier bandwagon. They are that fan base is going to be over it. But I like the matchup. I like the matchup because I want to go look at the Utah game, right? That's what I'm going to base everything on. And I think Utah, how many times? I'm pulling it up now to make sure it's accurate. They got home 5 times against Mertz. 5 times. Florida's running back struggled and you know, averaged 3.5 yards per carry from ETN. And somebody came at me and said, yeah, but you didn't mention how many times they carried the ball. Exactly. That's why I went by how many yards per carry, because they were playing from behind. They were throwing the football a lot. But I think that's the recipe for success against the Gators. Stop the run, force them to throw. And I think Tennessee is going to be able to get after the quarterback with the front 4. And I think if Utah can get home 5 times on Mertz, I think this Tennessee defensive line is going to have a field day. So Tennessee just needs to score enough. I think we all knew. Man, I throw 18 questions at you all the time. But I think we knew going in. We expected the offense to take a step back and the defense to take a step forward. And I think that sets us up for success on Saturday.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that it's been the story, Boogie, since the beginning of time with football. Win the rushing game, stop the other team from rushing. 99 times out of 100, you're going to win that game, no matter who you're playing. It's a war. It's the battle of the line of scrimmage. It always has been. I don't care how fancy offenses get. I don't care how gimmicky our offense supposedly is. If you don't win the line of scrimmage, you're not winning the football game. And I totally agree. The yards per carry is a big stat, and I'm not a stat guy. Anybody that watches me knows I don't put a lot of stock in stats, of course, till after the game, because what Florida did against Utah statistically really honestly has no bearing going into this game, because you know those players are going to be hyped through the ceiling, the Florida players. All they've been hearing all off seasons, how bad Tennessee's going to beat them. You know, they're probably hearing it from the media again, how bad Tennessee's going to beat them. Tennessee's got better athletes all over the field. And how long has it been since we've heard that, by the way? So I don't put a lot of stock in the Utah game, because I think totally different atmosphere in their favor. And the fans, you mentioned the fans and firing Billy Napier. They're already out of their minds wanting to fire Billy Napier. The diehard Gator fans that are going to be at that game, you know, they understand that they need this win, maybe to save his job, maybe not. I don't know. You know, maybe they give him 4 or 5 years. I mean, at this trajectory, there's no way he's going to get 4 or 5 years, which is great. I love it. I love the way things are headed for Florida. They're headed down that coaching carousel just like we went. And I hope they have 5 coaches over the next 10 years. So, you know, good luck to you, Gators. Not.
That's the bad thing is, man, I was looking through Wiki, just looking at the records and all the coaches that they've hired since Urban Meyer. Man, it's just a reminder of how bad Tennessee was too, because we should have taken advantage of a lot of those coaches that Jim McElwain, I mean, good Lord have mercy. Why did Tennessee not turn the tide against some of those coaches? Hopefully we got a ball coach now, man. And I know that this felt like a funeral, man. This first 45 minutes of the show has felt like a funeral. It has. And I hate it. I hate that we're coming out off of that negative Austin Peay game and going into the Florida game this way, but So many people have felt like Tennessee was going to take a step back this year and then take a big step forward in 2024. And then if or when that happens, we hit the panic button and everybody freaks out. Let me hit this $10 super chat from Big Papa. Appreciate that, buddy. $10 is very generous. I appreciate that. I think what happened to Joe was he lost the confidence when the players dropped the passes. Then he started thinking too much. Then you have the offensive line could not block any pass rush. What are your thoughts? Man, you're a starting quarterback for an SEC football team. You better have some confidence. You can't lose confidence because another player drops a pass. I didn't see any frustration on Joe's face, though. Did you?
You never do. That's the thing. Joe Cool, he looks sometimes overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, on the sidelines after a bad series. He was like that in the spring game, and I know it's just a spring game, but he played terrible that day. And every time he came over to the sideline, he's bouncing around, fist bumping the players and smiling, and he seems to do that in games too. So I don't know if he's either the world's greatest liar as far as making us think he's filled with confidence, or if he's just really like that. And I feel like he's probably really like that. I don't think he lost any confidence really at all after the receivers were dropping the passes, because let's face it, some of those passes, I know if it hits you in your hands, you're supposed to catch it. I was even screaming that Saturday. But after I looked back at the play, Squirrel White did everything he could on that ball to catch it. His problem was he wasn't about 8 inches taller. He wasn't catching that ball no matter how hard he tried, but he gave it his best. So I aside from Dante Thornton missing 2 catches that definitely should have been caught, I don't think it messed with his confidence.
I don't either. He and Joe has to be Joe, man. If Joe, I just wonder how other people respond to it, right? That's when I talk about him dancing and being loose and like, it definitely seems like he's irritated with the outside noise, the way, the big brother thing or whatever it was they said at that press conference where I think he dropped an F-bomb or something. He got pissed over the little brother, not big brother, little brother comment with Hendon. I wonder if it's almost like a us against the world type mentality, and I get it. It's all that matters is that team and those coaches. That's it. We're fans. We enjoy the ride. We love the game. But really, at the end of the day, all that matters is that football team. It's not about us. It's not, and we're a part of it. We support them. We pay our hard-earned money to watch their games and buy their gear and all that type of stuff. There is no game without fans. But at the end of the day, it's about them.
It is. And it's kind of funny. I've brought this up many times over my career being a Tennessee fan. The difference between what I do for Greenville football and what I used to do and sometimes still try to do for Tennessee football is I get something back from doing this high school stuff with the kids. I'm in the locker rooms. I get to know these kids personally, the coaches, all of that. With Tennessee football, never once in my 40, almost 50 years of being a fan have I ever gotten a letter from the university or a handshake from a head coach. Well, except for this year, in my personal meetings with Heupel. But other than that, Tennessee's never given me crap, except for all the crap they've given me the last 18 out of 20 years, but I've clearly had enough joy as just being a Tennessee fan to continue doing it. I don't have it in me to not root for this team. There's literally nothing they could do short of the entire team coming onto one of my videos on video and saying, "Hey, BBD, you suck. We don't love you. Quit making videos about us." Then I might reconsider. But until that day happens, I'm all orange all the time. And I'm never going to give up on the guys, even though, yeah, sometimes I get mad. I think I heard you say that you never, maybe not cuss, but you never, is that what you said? You never cuss a player or something like that?
I've never booed when I've been at a game. I'm not a believer in that. And I just don't, man. I don't think it does us any favors to boo Joe Milton when he comes off the field. I don't think it does us any favors to chant Nico's name when Joe throws a bad pass. And you can talk about confidence. And man, you don't want the leader of your football team, your quarterback, your guy. It's Joe's team. We've said it all off season. It's still Joe's team. You don't want that guy pissed at his own fans. That's not doing anybody any favors. It's not. So I'm not a believer. Now, if you and I are sitting here watching the game together and wide receiver Y drops a pass, I'm going to tell you Y sucks. We got to get Y out of the game. He is garbage. But, and I'm committed. Look, when we do what we do, when you sit down in front of a microphone and a camera every single day and talk Tennessee football, I'm committed to giving my true opinions. People like to say I'm a sunshine pumper. Other people say I'm a negaball. I'm in the middle. I give my true opinion, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. After the Virginia game, I was defending Joe, said he played well. After the Austin Peay game, I came on here and said Joe played like crap today. That's what I'm committed to doing. But as far as being a fan, I try not to boo the players.
I think I have mixed emotions on that, to be honest. I get it. At my age, especially, these are kids out there playing a game. But you look at it now, they're young adults playing a game that they're finally getting paid for. Not all of them, but, the really good ones are making good money now to go out there and play the game that they may or may not love. So sometimes I do, especially in this last 2 decades of misery, I hate to bring them back up, but I've made some pretty bad videos, cussing them at halftime and calling players names because they were playing, to use the B word. There's been many games where they were playing like a bunch of Bs. But as a fan, that's my opinion that I'm entitled to have. And not everybody has to like it. I get it, but that's just the way I feel. I've never actually booed them at the stadium, and I've been to well over 100 games. Maybe it's just different when I'm there in person. I think when we're sitting at home in our living room, in the peace and privacy of our own home, I'm losing my voice. We tend to say things that we wouldn't say if we were at a game around other people, especially being around kids at the game. That's one thing, and I'm probably way off topic here, but
what are you, Nick Saban? How much are they paying you for that Coke?
Tons. It's part of my NIL deal with the university. It irks me to no end to see parents at games, high school, college, peewee, whatever, that cuss around their children and just say things about people that they would probably, well, I don't know. Those people probably do that at home too. I don't know. But it just, I don't know. Stuff like that really gets under my skin. And I've noticed that a lot more in recent years. Before I got sick and lost my leg and was going to games all the time, I would see people doing that around other people's kids with their own kids. And I just don't think there's any room for that in sports. But that's, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's a big problem with youth sports now. Parents getting involved, fighting officials, fighting players. It's just nuts, Maybe I'm different as an older guy, maybe I'm different, and I don't know. I just think that is absurd, as I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, it's just weird. What we do is different, being on YouTube and it's just, I've had people tell me, oh, what you're doing just hurts the university, but then on the flip side of that, I formed a relationship with a guy like Braylon Staley and able to, put him on a platform. If I can do anything for these kids and elevate them and get more eyes on them, then I'm all for that. But I'm also going to give just my real opinion. That's what I'm going to do. Certain people in the media have called me a content creator and criticized the type of video that I made on one particular topic. It's like, get over it, man. Get over it.
Isn't the media content creators too?
Yeah, but they like to talk down to people like us with that type of label.
Yeah, well, they don't do it. They won't do it in person because, regardless of what Austin Price may or may not think of me and Mark Packer.
It wasn't a VolQuester though. So
no. I'm just saying, I'm just using those guys as an example because they're the only media people that I've met recently. Nicest guys in the world, and they know what I do. They've seen some of my past videos, and they know what I do. They didn't talk down to me in person. Now at home, they may be talking down to all of us YouTubers because we quote unquote don't get paid to do this. Some of us do, but we don't get paid like they do. There's nobody, there's no well, never mind. Anyway, I get bent sometimes talking about the media because they're doing now what some of us have been doing for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
And that's trying to capitalize on this platform.
It's got to be better. We got to be better than them. But look, I'm not bad mouthing all the media. Obviously, I've got a great relationship with Cainer, good relationship with Ben McKee. The A to Z Sports guys have been really cool to me. I like having as many people on to talk Tennessee as possible, and I like seeing a guy like Cainer come on this show and be laid back and be one of the boys and just talk ball. That's why I like our relationship so much. Kangaroo Black in the chat. What's up, brother? We got to get you on the channel this year. We tried to do it last year. The scheduling didn't work out. We got to make that happen this year. C. Andrews Sr. for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Met Squirrel yesterday. We talked briefly. Man, he just had a look in his eyes. I'm sure the offense will be better against Florida. Do you think, the old – I feel like, again, I said this earlier, we're making excuses, right? Everything's an excuse, and, well, the lightning delay, and, we were looking ahead to Florida. Do you buy into the old, that could have been the best thing that happened to Tennessee is they came out, looked flat, now they're pissed off, and they're going to go down to Florida, and they're going to bring their A game versus they roll Austin Peay 70-3. They roll into Florida confident. What do you think? You think they can respond from a weak performance against Austin Peay?
You're asking me if I buy into weather delays affecting a team?
I know it affects the fans.
Yeah, it definitely does. And real quick, you mentioned that we've had 2 games canceled. So far, we've got 3 because our game this coming Friday has been canceled. And as an indirect reason because of weather. So right now, as it stands, after 5 games this year, we're going to be 2-0. But anyway, no, I don't buy into that. Now, I don't buy into it the way it happened Saturday. What were they, 45 minutes, 30 minutes delayed?
Something like that,
from the start. I don't think that was even remotely a big deal to the players. Now, if it's, a couple of deals like I've experienced this year where you're halfway through the game and in the first at Dobbins Bennett, almost done with the third quarter, yeah, that definitely affects a team. If they've got God, my voice is terrible. If they have to leave the field, go into the locker room, and get to the point where they're taking their pads and everything off and, putting their music back on and getting comfortable, that definitely has to affect those kids at whatever level, even at the pro level, even though it don't seem to ever happen in the NFL. But I don't think it had a bit of an effect on Saturday's game. If they start that game on time Saturday, I think Tennessee was still going to have a shitty game. It happens. Teams have shitty games. Just look at some of the scores this weekend. Look at some of the almost halftime scores with teams struggling. I don't know what it's been this year. Maybe it is the weather, but some of the SEC teams have just flat struggled with these FCS games or whatever the hell they're calling them now.
Well, do you think, just across the country, not even just going as bad as a team like Austin Peay, but against the ACC and other conferences, do you think we're actually moving forward with what they want in college football, more equal teams with the transfer portal and recruiting? Look, we're seeing some guys, the number 1 player in the country just committed to Missouri. And it was only because of NIL. I know a lot of times people say that, and it's BS. It's not just because of NIL.
It's
like
not
Chris Cole had nothing to do with money. But Missouri, that was all money. Williams-Mary going to Missouri was all money. So if Missouri can pluck a top player, if, I don't know, any of these teams can spend a certain amount of money. You're spreading out some of these top players versus Alabama getting every one of them. We just saw Alabama lose. Of course, that's to Texas. That's a different – that ain't like losing to Virginia or somebody. But do you think we're seeing more parity? Is that the word I'm looking for in college football because of the transfer portal and NIL?
I don't think there's really any question. I mean, I think it's mainly because of the portal, not necessarily because of NIL. I definitely think that the NIL is totally shifting the way some of these players are leaning. Look, let's look in our own backyard. Do we really think we're getting Nico?
Right.
If he doesn't get that NIL deal, I don't care what people say now because we got him. That's all that matters. But, I mean, in fact, wasn't it last year or the year before, Coach Sanders got the number one player in the country at Jackson State?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was an NIL deal or what, but, I mean, the number one player in the country decides to go to Jackson State. Are you kidding me? Something was going on. I mean, I don't think they got him just because Coach Dion was there, and I refuse to call him Coach P word. I think that is so stupid.
Were you the one that was – somebody else was complaining about that, or maybe it was just you complaining to me about Coach Prime?
I've heard other people complain about it, but I mean, it is what it is. That's just him. I get it, but it's stupid. Maybe it's just because, again, I'm older. I'm from a different era. You know, you wouldn't hear people calling Coach Fulmer, I don't know, Coach Little Debbie or whatever nickname he might have gotten back then, Coach Moon Pie. But anyway, back to your original point. Yeah, it's definitely changed football. Every one of these teams that come in here that we should have a glorified scrimmage with, they're going to have one or two or three players that were highly ranked players coming out of high school that didn't cut it at Alabama, that didn't cut it at Georgia, that couldn't cut it at Tennessee. That's just the name of the game right now. And we'll adapt to it and roll with it until something else changes. Just like this whole clock stopping or not stopping on first downs in college. I don't think it's affected, at least to this point, it doesn't seem to have affected many games. Have you noticed that?
I mean, I think the games are the exact same length. You're just getting more commercials.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. What do we have? Maybe 5 to 10 fewer plays. I don't know. It's like you said. It's all about commercials and money at the end of the day, and it's going to continue to go that way. They'll have advertisements. I mean, you already see advertisements all over everything. They'll be on the footballs before long. You know?
Yeah. It look like a NASCAR race.
Yeah. They do it. Oh, God, it drives me nuts in high school football now, the announcers for the radio. That's another Nike first down. Everything's got a name. It's crazy. That's another Joe Newbert paint and body 1st and 10.
Yeah.
You know, let's take a Boogie Bentley's Talkin VAWLS timeout now.
It's even in high school football, man.
Yeah.
High schools are doing it for the advanced auto parts first down. Like
it's worse in high school than it is in college.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess they have to do that because radio is a struggling industry right now, especially AM radio. I mean,
it's all on YouTube now. Go to YouTube to get your content.
Kids are like, AM radio, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right, boys, we're an hour into this thing. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to continue to talk Florida. I wanted to do one last stream kind of, recapping Austin Peay. And we'll see if JP wants to come on Wednesday. I'm going to text him. If he wants to come on, I'm sure he's going to want to vent and let it all out there about Austin Peay. So we'll see what we get into on Wednesday. Trying to get some special guests lined up for the rest of the week. Tomorrow I'll be on here playing NCAA football, and we will be talking Florida football, Tennessee football all night long. So come hang out for that. Wednesday at noon, we're going to be on BBD's channel for the Tennessee Trinity crossover. I will post that link out there so you guys see it as well. And then Friday morning with Coach Jay. Saturday, we're doing the tailgate show. It'll be at 6 p.m. and then live immediately after the game. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys for the support. We're going to wrap this one up. He's BBD. My name's Boogie Bentley. Make sure you guys go give him a sub so you don't miss Wednesday at noon. Also, you got the Hypel interview coming up. Is you going to post it today or tomorrow?
They're going to be Tuesdays around 2 to 4 p.m. And I'm also working on Eric Westmoreland interview. I've got a confirmation from him. I just can't nail down a day. So still working on that.
So go check out the interview. If you missed the to clarify. If you missed the interview with Hypel last week, go check it out, man. BBD had me laughing. It's good stuff. But we're going to wrap it up. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
That we charge.